my name's Jess. I'm a mum of two young children, they're 2 and 4, and I make videos about daily life, toys, play, and also we are going to be moving in the next couple of months to California for my husband's work, and I'm going to be documenting that journey on here too. But today I want to talk to you about something that's been in the news, which is about issuing guidance for children under the age of 5 for screen time usage. I think this is a long time coming. I think in the day that we live in, it's really hard to avoid screen use for children under 5. It's just the norm. And I'm going to be sharing with you today some of the things I do to help my children not have as much screen time during the day. We aren't an anti-screen family. We do watch TV, but we do limit it, and I'll explain some reasons why. Just to flip back to the research that's come out, children who watch excessive screen time, so up to 5 hours of TV a day under the age of 5, or screens a day, were less likely to have well-developed speech and language, listening skills and attention skills than those children that watch 44 minutes of screens a day. And this is really apparent in schools. I am an ex-teacher and also special educational needs coordinator, and we were seeing a rapidly growing population of children with speech and language difficulties. And because if you are passively watching a screen, and that means not interacting with your parent whilst watching the screen, so if you're watching a film and you're watching with your child and you're saying, oh look at that, and singing along, that's different to putting your child in front of the TV and walking away to do something else. Not saying I don't do that, but that is what the difference is between passively watching and actively watching. So these children who are passively watching the screen for 5 hours a day are the ones that have the speech and language delay. And I'm not saying that's for all children, but this is just the study. And so this was hindering their development of their brain, basically. Young children need interaction with humans, other humans, whether that be a nanny, a childminder, or a parent, or anybody else, over looking at a screen, because they don't get something back, and that's what helps develop their brain. So that's the reasoning behind this movement, I suppose. So first I'm just going to talk about our views on screen time and how they've evolved over the years. Obviously now, having been a mum for 4 years, things have changed, my opinions have changed over the time. My children have never had an iPad, both of them, or a tablet or anything like that. I've never really believed in them owning their own personal device at such a young age. However, my children have always watched TV, and probably before the age of 1, both of them have been exposed to some screen time, like Miss Rachel, or some of the slower TV shows like Puffin Rock under the age of 2. My daughter actually doesn't like watching TV, so we've never really had an issue with it. We've never really had an issue with screen time. She just never really watches it. She's never been giving her phone unless it's to FaceTime family or look at photos. And yeah, she's just not fazed by it. Then my son is a little bit more interested in screen time, and so we have had to put restrictions in place for him. Not restrictions, but basically just ways of life, so that he understands that screens aren't the only way that we can entertain ourselves during the day. So he used to watch TV when he got up in the morning, that was our routine before I had my daughter. However, that was really affecting his ability to then play independently throughout the day. It was also affecting his ability to listen in the mornings, and if we were trying to get out the door for preschool or a club or something like that, it was making it more difficult. So my husband and I had a discussion, and we basically don't watch TV in the mornings, and this has massively changed our perspective on things. I think it's great that they're going to issue guidance on this. I think it's really difficult for parents, because if your friends all have iPads or tablets for their children, it's quite hard to be the one that doesn't. If your friend takes their child to a restaurant and puts them in front of a screen, it's quite hard to be the parent that doesn't. So I think having some guidance on this, because it can be quite an emotive topic, will be really helpful for parents. And understanding the why behind using screens can be bad is really important. Now, as a mum who has limited screen time, I find it quite difficult to navigate that, now my son is 4, because some of his friends watch more, some of his friends watch less, so that can be quite difficult as a parent. The other thing I've learned is that it's hard to go out to a restaurant with children, and obviously the easy option would be to put them in front of a screen. Not my daughter, because she wouldn't be interested, but my son definitely. But we've pushed through, and we have things like mini magnet tiles, we have books, we have games. We always order their meal as soon as we get there, or at least something they can nibble on, some bread or whatever, just to keep them occupied. We also lower our expectations when we go out for a meal, so we're not thinking we're going out for a meal for 2 hours, and if we are, then we'll just take more stuff with us, basically. Like, for example, we went to my sister-in-law's wedding in September. We were sat down for like 3 hours. The kids were walking around, they were going to see different family members, they had different activities to do, but they didn't go on a screen at any point. So having that expectation that it's not going to be like it used to be is quite important, but you know, you do you, whatever. So those are things that I have learned that helped me minimize the screen time. The other thing is, so we don't watch TV in the mornings. We only allow them to watch CBeebies, so like live TV. They're very rarely allowed to sit and watch the same show on repeat. I think it's good for them to realise, like, you know, when we were kids and we'd watch CBeebies or CBBC or whatever was on TV, and a programme would come on that you really didn't like, but you would just have to sit and watch it or go and do something else. I think teaching them that is important, that they can't just have what they want on demand all the time. So they watch live CBeebies, or sometimes we put on CBeebies pantomimes because I find that they're quite engaging for the children, they join in. We only put it on for a limited amount of time, so in the evening, sometimes they have it for half an hour, sometimes they don't have it at all. It just depends really on the day. Occasionally my son might watch a film in the middle of the day with me if we're having some quiet time, and that's quite nice too. So there's no really strict rules, but that's just how we live. The other things I do with my kids' toys is I don't put everything out at the same time. So every 2 weeks or so, I work on a strategy to rotate the toys. So I've just done a toy rotation today, so I thought I would show you what I've put out, and I will change this up sort of every 2 weeks, or when I can be bothered to do it really, or when I think, they're getting a bit bored of playing with these toys. And genuinely, if you just move the toy from one side of the room to the other, sometimes that's all it takes. So behind me here, we always have these blocks out. We always have our stepping stones out. We always have our things on the windowsill out, and also our rainbows up. Sometimes they don't always get played with, but they're quite bulky, so I just keep them out. So this I have just moved across from the other side of the room. So although our rainbows we always have out, they were over here. So I just changed it so that the cafe setup is over here instead. We have put out the dollies, and I got the cot down from upstairs so that they can play dollies, and there's a box of dolly stuff just in there. The market stall I change up quite regularly, so sometimes we have it as a puppet theatre, sometimes it's an ice cream shop, sometimes it's a shop. So we're taking all the food away a couple of weeks ago because they were just making a mess of it, not really playing with it, and we changed it into an ice cream stand with some flowers as well. We have a colouring setup. Sometimes I put crayons here, sometimes I put felt tips, it just depends. And then we've got a roll of paper that I just rip off as we go along. And then this is our toy rotation station. So these are the things we change up a lot, apart from these 3 boxes. That's Duplo, magnetic tiles, and ball run stuff. We always have those out. We always have our books out, and we always have our wobble board because they're always played with. But these trays we change up. So I thought I would show you what's in them. So in here I have put a little magical lotto game for my daughter, and then I've also put in a Spidey memory game for my son. Up here I have got some cars. These are the Cars toys and the lorry that goes with it. I find if they're just in a box, he doesn't really play with them, but if I put them out like this, they both play with them, which is great. I've got a little threading activity here, which is Hungry Caterpillar. I think it's a knockoff, but it's from Amazon, and then they can do it in order if they want to. in here. This is primarily for my daughter because of the age of it, but it was my son's. It's got a puzzle and another puzzle. These are Lovevery puzzles, which I had for my son. I've just put those out now. And we also have some, I think this is called Plus Plus out, which I decided to put out because it's fun and both kids like it. Here we've got this Iron Man that my son's just built out of Lego. But the balls for the ball run for magnetic tiles, and then the shape sorter that my daughter absolutely loves, and then the rainbows that I was talking about earlier. And these drawers here, they are kind of storage drawers, I suppose you could say, but they do still get these things out, especially the dressing up box. That's a big favourite in our house, and the Lego. But in there's animals, there's a Kepler, dinosaurs, cars and other things that they can get out when they want, but that's more storage. Last thing I wanted to talk about was in the car. So a lot of people ask me, what do you do when you go in the car with the kids on a long journey? Because obviously they can get bored easily, and that's when a lot of people give them a movie to watch or their tablets or whatever to do. So we don't have tablets, so that's not really an option for us and never has been. I mean, we've driven to Disneyland Paris without any screens, absolutely fine. That's about a 8-hour journey. So what do they do in the car? Well, we have a big box in the car of books that they can look at. They have those drawing pads that you can erase. They have their cuddly toys and their Yoto players if they want to listen to those. So that's a good way of them keeping them occupied. We also just listen to storybooks out loud in the car, or songs. They sleep, they have snacks, they look out the window. I guess it's kind of thinking about what do kids do before screens, and I guess that's what they used to do, just look out the window, chat to their parents and listen to songs, audiobooks, that sort of thing. So those are the things we do in the car to entertain our kids. I think also the last thing to say is that the less you entertain your kids, the more they are independent in play. And so they don't need to be constantly entertained. And I know sometimes it's hard, like you try to get dinner on and they're moaning at you and they want you to play with them and give them your full attention. So hard. So yeah, sometimes I put the TV on for them and they watch it for half an hour, live CBeebies, or we put it on in the kitchen so that they can listen to it and watch it and interact with me as well. Not that it works for my daughter, she's always in the kitchen wanting to help me, which is fine. So I do understand from a parent's perspective, but I'll be interested to see what the guidance is when it comes out in April. And I'd love to hear your tips on screen-free childhood, your thoughts, that sort of thing. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you want more content like this. Bye.